The first thing that went wrong was the silence. Not the usual kind, the comforting, empty quiet of space that every crew member aboard the Artemis 9 had long since grown used to. No. This silence felt wrong. Heavy. Like something vast was holding its breath just beyond the hull. Anyone else hearing that? Malik's voice crackled over the comms, tight and uncertain. Captain Elias froze mid-step on the command deck. Hearing what? A pause. Then. Exactly. The word sent a chill through the room. Elias slowly turned toward the sensor array, where Lieutenant Harper sat rigid, her fingers hovering above the controls. The low hum of the ship's systems, normally constant, felt distant now, like it was being swallowed by something deeper. Run diagnostics, Elias ordered. I already did, Harper replied, her voice quieter than usual. Everything's functioning perfectly. Then why does it feel like we just flew into a grave? No one answered. And then, it came. A sound, not through the speakers, not through any channel, but directly into their ears. Low. Ancient. Strained. A voice. Thirst. Malik stumbled back from his station. Tell me that came through comms. Harper shook her head slowly. No transmission detected. The voice came again, louder this time. Cracked. Weak. But unmistakably real. Please. Every instinct in Elias screamed at him to turn the ship around. This sector wasn't just uncharted, it was avoided. A dead zone. No signals, no stars worth mapping, no reason to be here. And yet. Source. Elias demanded. Harper swallowed hard, her fingers finally moving again. Triangulating, that's not possible. What? She turned her screen toward him. A single point blinked on the display. A planet, barely registering on any known database. No atmosphere to speak of. No energy readings. No life. It's coming from there, she said. Malik let out a nervous laugh. Great. A haunted rock is calling us for a drink. But no one laughed with him. The voice returned, fainter now, as if fading with every second. So long. Elias clenched his jaw. Protocol was clear. Unknown psychic phenomena? Immediate retreat. Log the anomaly. Do not engage. But that voice. It wasn't threatening. It was dying. Captain, Harper said carefully, we should leave. There's nothing natural about this. He knew she was right. Every trained instinct agreed. And yet, his hand hovered over the navigation console. Set a course, he said. Malik snapped his head toward him. You're serious? We check it out. Briefly, Elias replied. If there's even a chance someone's alive down there. On a planet with no atmosphere? Malik cut in. Yeah, sounds very alive. Elias didn't look at him. That's an order. The engines shifted, a low vibration rippling through the ship as the Artemis 9 adjusted its trajectory. And as it did, the voice changed. Not louder. Not clearer. But, relieved. Coming. The planet looked dead long before they entered orbit. A gray, cracked sphere floating in the void, its surface scarred with canyons that stretched for miles. No oceans. No clouds. Just dust and ruin. Still no life signs, Harper reported. No heat signatures either. Then what the hell is talking to us? Malik muttered. Elias didn't answer. Because as they drew closer, the silence came back. Heavier than before. Pressing against his skull. Captain, Harper whispered. I feel it. This time, there was no mistaking it. Something was down there. Something massive. And it was waiting. Hurry. The voice hit them all at once, stronger now, but laced with desperation so raw it made Malik grip the edge of his console. That's not just in my head anymore, he said. Tell me you're recording this. Still no detectable transmission, Harper replied. It's like, it's bypassing everything. Elias stared at the planet below. A dead world. Calling for help. Prepare a descent team, he said. Malik groaned. Of course we are. The shuttle ride down felt longer than it should have. The closer they got to the surface, the more the air inside the cabin seemed to tighten, like breathing through something unseen. No wind greeted them when they landed. No sound. Just endless, suffocating stillness. Elias stepped out first, his boots crunching softly against the dry, brittle ground. The sky above was a dull, lifeless gray, stretching endlessly in all directions. Radiation levels are low, Harper said, scanning the area as she followed. Surface is stable. Still no biological She stopped mid-sentence. Captain. Elias turned. At first, he didn't see it. Just more rock. More ruin. Then the ground shifted. Not violently. Slowly. Like something beneath it had moved. Malik took a step back. Okay. I officially hate this place. Elias raised a hand, signaling them to stay still. The silence deepened. Then, a crack split the earth ahead of them. Dust rose in a slow, drifting cloud as something enormous shifted beneath the surface. And then, for the first time, they heard it. Not in their minds, but in the world itself. A breath. Deep. Ancient. Painful. You came? The ground trembled again, and something vast began to rise from beneath the ruins. Elias felt his heart slam against his ribs as a shape, impossibly large, pushed through the dust. Not a machine. Not a structure. Something else. Something alive. And as the creature's shadow stretched across them, blocking out what little light remained, Elias realized one terrifying truth. They hadn't found the source of the signal. The signal had been calling them to itself. For a moment, no one moved. Not Elias. Not Harper. Not even Malik, who, for once, had nothing to say. Because rising from the shattered crust of that dead world was something no human mind was ever meant to comprehend. Dust poured off it like falling ash. Stone cracked and slid away in sheets as an immense shape forced itself upward, each movement slow, labored, painful. What Elias had first mistaken for jagged terrain began to shift into something far worse. Curved. Lead. Alive. A massive, scaled surface emerged, dark as obsidian yet dulled by age and decay. The ruins scattered across the ground weren't ruins at all. They were chains. Colossal metallic structures, half-buried, ancient beyond reason, were embedded deep into the creature's body. Some had fused with its scales. Others had pierced clean through, anchoring it to the planet itself. Harper's voice trembled. That's not possible. Malik finally found his breath. That's not a creature, that's a mountain. Another movement. Another slow, agonizing rise. And then, the head surfaced. Elias felt his pulse stop. It was enormous, easily the size of their shuttle, its shape unmistakable despite the alien geometry. A long, armored snout. Horn-like structures, cracked and worn. Rows of jagged ridges running down its spine like broken blades. A dragon. An alien dragon. Its eyes remained closed at first, lids heavy, as if even that small motion required strength it didn't have. Water. The voice rolled across the barren landscape, not just heard, but felt, vibrating through bone and air alike. Harper staggered slightly. It's communicating directly again. Malik shook his head, backing up another step. No. No, 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 we are not doing this. Captain, we need to leave. Now. Elias didn't respond. He couldn't. Because the creature's eyes were opening. Slowly. Painfully. And when they did, they were not filled with rage. Not hunger. Not even curiosity. They were filled with something far more unsettling. Desperation. Please. The single word hit harder than anything else. Malik froze. Harper lowered her scanner. Even Elias felt something twist in his chest. Because this impossibly ancient, planet-bound monster, wasn't looking at them like prey. It was looking at them like its last hope. Captain, Harper whispered, forcing her voice steady, those structures, they're not natural. They're engineered. Elias nodded slowly, his eyes scanning the massive restraints embedded in the creature's body. Restraints. More than that, she said, stepping closer despite herself. They're still active. I'm picking up faint energy readings, barely functioning, but enough to keep it here. Malik let out a hollow laugh. You're telling me someone chained that thing to a planet, and just left it? For how long? Elias murmured. The dragon's gaze shifted slightly, focusing on them with visible effort. Its breathing was uneven, each inhale dragging against whatever ancient damage had been done to it. Long time. The words were fragmented. Broken. Like language itself was something it hadn't used in ages. Elias stepped forward. Captain. Malik snapped. What are you doing? Talking to it, Elias replied, though his voice was quieter now. Careful. Measured. He stopped a short distance away, close enough to feel the heat of the creature's breath, faint as it was. You're asking for water, Elias said. Why? The dragon's eye flickered. For a second, Elias thought it might close again, that the effort had been too much. But then, Burning. Harper frowned. Burning? The creature's massive form shifted slightly, and Elias saw it then, thin cracks running between its scales. Faint, dimly glowing, like embers buried deep beneath stone. Inside. Malik's voice dropped. That's not good. Dehydration wouldn't cause that, Harper said, her mind racing. This is something else, some kind of internal reaction, maybe energy-based. Dying. The word silenced her. Elias clenched his jaw. Captain, Malik said firmly, we are way out of our depth. That thing is not just dying, it's something we don't understand. We give it anything, we interfere, and, what? It suddenly gets better? Stronger? He gestured wildly at the towering creature. You really want to be standing here if that happens? Elias didn't answer right away. Because Malik wasn't wrong. Every scenario his mind ran through ended the same way, badly. If the creature died, they'd never know what it was. If it lived, they might not survive it. Please. The dragon's voice cracked. Weaker now. Fading. And for the first time, its massive head lowered, just slightly, toward them. Not in threat. Not in dominance. But in something that looked dangerously close to submission. Harper exhaled shakily. It's not trying to scare us. No, Elias said quietly. He took another step forward. It's begging. A low warning beep cut through the tension. Harper glanced at her wrist display, and her face went pale. Captain, we have a problem. Elias didn't look away from the creature. What kind of problem? Orbital Command just pinged us. They've been trying to reach us since we entered the sector. Malik groaned. Perfect timing. Put it through, Elias said. A burst of static filled the comms before a sharp, authoritative voice broke through. Artemis 9, this is command. You are in a restricted dead zone. Identify your status immediately. Elias hesitated. Just for a second. His eyes flicked between the comm device and the dying creature in front of him. Command, he said finally, we've encountered. You are to disengage and leave the system immediately, the voice cut in. No exceptions. Harper swallowed. Captain. Elias's grip tightened on the communicator. We have a living entity on the surface, he said. It's negative. There is no life in that sector, Command replied instantly. Your instruments are compromised. Return to orbit. Malik muttered under his breath, told you. Elias's gaze hardened. It's asking for help. A pause. Then. Do not engage. The words came colder this time. Sharper. Leave. Now. The line went dead. Silence returned. But it wasn't the same as before. Because now, Elias wasn't just hearing the dragon's fading breaths. He was hearing the weight of a choice. Behind him, Malik stepped closer. Captain, we follow orders. Harper said nothing, but her expression said enough. And in front of him, the ancient dragon's eye dimmed slightly. Water. Elias closed his eyes for a brief moment. Then opened them again. Decision made. For a long moment, Captain Elias said nothing. The windless, lifeless planet stretched endlessly around them, but all he could hear was the slow, weakening breath of the creature before him, and the echo of Command's final order ringing in his mind. Do not engage. Behind him, Malik shifted uneasily. Captain, whatever you're thinking, don't. This isn't a rescue mission anymore. This is something way bigger. Harper didn't interrupt this time. She just watched Elias carefully, as if trying to predict which way he'd go. Elias exhaled slowly. Then he looked up, directly into the massive, dimming eye of the dragon. You said you've been here a long time, he said. How long? For a second, there was no response. Then, the ground trembled faintly as the creature struggled to form the answer. Before, your kind. Harper's breath caught. That's not a number. Stars, younger. Malik blinked. You've got to be kidding me. Elias felt a chill crawl up his spine. Millions of years, Harper whispered. Maybe more. The dragon's eye flickered faintly, as if confirming it. This thing wasn't just ancient. It was older than anything humanity had ever encountered. Why? Elias asked, his voice steady despite the weight pressing down on him. Why were you left here? The question lingered in the dead air. For a moment, Elias thought the creature might not answer. But then its gaze shifted, distant, unfocused. Like it wasn't looking at them anymore. Like it was looking at something far, far away. They feared. Its voice had changed. Still weak. Still broken. But now, there was something else beneath it. Memory. Skyburners, starbreakers. Harper frowned slightly. Translation's rough, but I think it's describing civilizations. Advanced ones. Many came. The creature's breathing deepened slightly, as if recalling the past gave it just a fraction more strength. Many demanded. Elias stepped closer. Demanded what? The answer came slowly. Obedience. Malik crossed his arms. Yeah, that tracks. Big scary dragon shows up, everyone wants to control it. But the dragon's eye shifted again, this time, focusing sharply on Elias. And for the first time, there was a flicker of something dangerous behind the exhaustion. Destruction. The word hit like a shockwave. Harper stiffened. Destruction of what? The dragon's jaw moved slightly, a faint grinding sound echoing as ancient muscles struggled to respond. Small, fragile. Elias's stomach tightened. New life. Silence. Even Malik didn't have a comeback for that. You mean, Harper started slowly, they wanted you to wipe out developing species. The dragon blinked once. Slow. Deliberate. Yes. Elias felt something cold settle in his chest. And you refused. Another pause. Longer this time. As if the memory itself was heavy. I chose, not to end them. The words came clearer now. Stronger. They called it, betrayal. Malik shook his head in disbelief. So let me get this straight, this thing got sentenced to, what? Eternal torture? Because it didn't commit genocide? Example. The dragon's voice dropped again. Fading. Warning to others. Harper looked back at the massive chains embedded in its body. They didn't just imprison it, they made sure it would suffer. Elias clenched his fists. Who did this to you? He asked. For the first time since it emerged. The dragon hesitated. Not because it lacked strength. But because, somehow, it seemed unwilling. Gone? Elias frowned. Gone? Their stars, ash. Malik let out a quiet breath. Extinct. Harper nodded slowly. Whatever civilization did this, it's been erased by time. All gone. The dragon's eye dimmed further. Except, me. The weight of that settled heavily over the group. An execution. A punishment. Carried out by a civilization that no longer even existed to remember it. Elias ran a hand over his face. So you've just been here, he said quietly. All this time, alone. No answer came this time. But it didn't need to. A sudden spike on Harper's scanner broke the silence. Captain, she said quickly, I'm picking up fluctuations in the restraint systems. Elias turned. What kind of fluctuations? They are failing, she said. Slowly, but definitely degrading. Malik's eyes widened. You mean those things are the only reason it's still stuck here? Looks like it, Harper replied. Elias glanced back at the dragon. You are bound, he said carefully. If those fail, you'll be free. The dragon's eye shifted toward him again. For a moment, there was something unreadable in its gaze. Something ancient. Something powerful. Then. No. Elias blinked. No? Too weak. The words were barely audible now. And, soon. Harper's voice softened. It's not going to survive long enough for the restraints to fail. Malik exhaled slowly. So that's it, then. Nature takes its course, and we walk away. Water. The plea came again. Softer. Desperate. Ease, pain. Elias looked at Harper. If we give it water, what happens? She hesitated. I don't know, she admitted. It might stabilize whatever internal reaction it's having. Or it might trigger something worse. We don't understand its biology at all. Malik stepped in. Or it gets stronger. A lot stronger. You heard the story, it was basically a living weapon. Elias didn't respond. Because he was still looking at the dragon. At the cracks glowing faintly beneath its scales. At the chains that had held it for longer than humanity had existed. At the creature that had been condemned. For choosing not to destroy the weak. Please. The word was barely more than a breath now. Fading. Breaking. And in that moment, Elias realized something that command, safely orbiting far above, never would. This wasn't about a monster. This wasn't about a threat. This was about a being that had suffered longer than anyone could comprehend. Asking for the smallest act of mercy. Behind him, Malik spoke again, quieter this time. Captain, if you do this, there's no going back. Harper didn't say anything. But she didn't look away either. Elias took a slow breath. Then reached for his comm. Shuttle, he said. A crackle answered. Pilot here, Captain. Elias's eyes never left the dragon. Prepare a water supply. Malik shut his eyes. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Harper exhaled softly. And in front of them, the dragon's dimming eye flickered, just slightly. Thank you. The shuttle's engines hummed softly as the Artemis 9's team worked in tense silence. Outside, the planet's gray wasteland stretched endlessly, cracked and lifeless, with the colossal shadow of the alien dragon looming over them. Its massive body trembled faintly, restrained by the ancient chains that had held it for millennia. Elias couldn't shake the feeling that every second they delayed brought the creature closer to death, and perhaps, to something far worse. Harper secured the water supply, her hands shaking despite years of experience in extreme environments. Captain, this is insane. We don't know what this thing's biology is like. One wrong move, and it dies anyway if we don't help, Elias finished for her. His eyes never left the creature before them. He could see the faint cracks in its scales, glowing dimly like dying embers, each one a silent scream of pain. And I can't just leave it here. Malik rubbed his face, muttering under his breath. We're about to break every rule in the book. Dead zone protocols, orbital command, interspecies engagement, forget that. We're basically signing our own death warrant. Elias turned to him, eyes hard. And if we don't, we're signing its. The shuttle's ramp lowered slowly, creaking under its own weight, and Elias stepped forward first. The dragon's eye flickered as it followed his movement, watching every gesture. For a moment, it seemed uncertain, too weak to react, too tired to trust. But it did not strike. It did not roar. It simply waited. Water, it whispered, the word trembling, faint as the last breath of a dying star. Harper carefully approached, holding a reinforced container filled with purified water. She hesitated, glancing at Elias. Are you sure? Yes, he said simply. It's asking for help. That's enough. Slowly, she raised the container, extending it toward the dragon. Its massive head bent lower, each movement deliberate, every ounce of energy precious. The dragon's nostrils flared as it inhaled, the faint ember-like cracks across its scales pulsing in response to the scent of water. And then, it drank. The sound was almost surreal, a deep, resonant rush of liquid, like rivers flowing inside a canyon of stone and metal. The dragon shivered violently, not in anger, but relief. Elias felt the air itself vibrate with the force of the motion, the tremors spreading through the shuttle and the ground beneath them. Malik staggered back. Oh no. Did we just? The answer came immediately. The glowing cracks along the dragon's scales flared brightly, a cascade of ember-like light pulsing from its chest to its tail. A deep rumble rolled across the barren land, not a roar, not a growl, but a vibration of sheer power. The dragon wasn't just drinking, it was recharging, regenerating, awakening after a punishment that had lasted eons. Harper's scanner went wild. Captain, it's stabilizing itself. But there's something else, energy readings are spiking exponentially. We need to step back. Elias remained rooted. He watched as the dragon rose slowly, chains groaning under the strain. The ancient restraints, weakened over millennia, began to crack and splinter. Pieces of metal and stone fell away, freeing segments of its massive form. The air around them seemed to hum with raw power. Malik's voice trembled. You're telling me that feeding it water made it stronger? Yes, Elias admitted. But it's not attacking. Not yet. The dragon's gaze swept across them, massive eyes glowing faintly with renewed energy. Then, slowly, it focused back on Elias. Its voice, deep and resonant, reverberated through the air and through their minds alike. Humans, why? Elias swallowed. Because you asked for mercy. That's enough. The dragon seemed to study him, as if measuring intent, weighing the worth of his species. Its enormous head lowered, not in aggression, but in acknowledgement. Then it moved, slow, deliberate, graceful for something so massive. Every step sent tremors through the ground, yet there was no malice, only measured curiosity. Harper glanced nervously at Elias. Captain, Orbital Command won't take this lightly. We're technically responsible for, well, everything happening here. Elias shook his head. Right now, the only thing that matters is keeping it alive. Everything else comes later. The dragon shifted again, lifting itself fully free of the remaining restraints. Dust and debris tumbled off its scales as it shook its massive body. Then, almost imperceptibly, it bowed its head toward them, an acknowledgement, a gesture of trust that defied comprehension. "Thank you," it said. The words were faint, but clear. "For life." Malik swallowed hard, voice barely audible. It's thanking us, like we saved it. And, we just gave it water." Elias took a step back, still keeping his eyes locked on the creature. Sometimes, even the smallest act can change everything. The dragon's head rose, eyes scanning the horizon as if sensing something they could not. The pulsing glow beneath its scales dimmed slightly, indicating stability, but the immense power it now carried was undeniable. Whatever had been dormant for millennia had begun to awaken. Harper stepped closer, almost whispering. "Captain, it could destroy this planet in a moment if it wanted. It's a weapon. It's capable of—" Elias nodded slowly. "I know. But right now, it's not choosing to destroy. It's choosing to trust." Malik muttered, "That's insane. We're playing with forces we can't even begin to understand." Elias met his gaze. "Exactly. That's why we need to be careful. And that's why we need to act human." The dragon's voice rumbled again, low and reverent. "Humans, fragile, yet brave." And then it did something no one expected. Its massive wings, folded and broken over the centuries, stretched slowly. The cracks along their membranes glowed faintly with energy. The ground trembled as if acknowledging the power returning to the ancient creature. Harper whispered, "Captain, it's not just alive, it's awake." Elias's jaw tightened. "And now, we have to decide what we do next." Behind them, the planet's dead horizon seemed to darken, not from shadow, but from anticipation. Whatever force had been lying dormant in the dragon had been stirred, awakened by humanity's small act of mercy. And somewhere deep inside the colossal alien, an ancient will began to stir, a will that had been bound, punished, and silenced for countless millennia. The question was clear. Would it forgive them for waking it, or remember humanity only as the species that dared to interfere? Elias inhaled, the weight of their impossible choice pressing down on him. He could feel it in every fiber of the planet, in every tremor from the dragon's rising form. The universe was about to test them. And humanity was no longer just a witness. They were participants. In a reckoning that had waited eons. The air on the dead planet trembled. Dust rose in swirling eddies around the feet of the crew, and the Artemis 9 shuttle rocked slightly from the vibrations. The dragon had fully freed itself from the ancient restraints now. Each movement sent cracks racing across the surface, a silent testimony to the power that had lain dormant for millennia. Elias kept his gaze locked on the creature. Its massive wings stretched wider, catching the dim light of the planet's gray sky. The faint embers along its scales pulsed rhythmically, not with pain, but with life, a life that had been denied for ages beyond comprehension. "Captain," Harper said, her voice barely above a whisper, "what do we do now? We've awoken a weapon that no one has seen in millions of years." Elias exhaled slowly. "We do what we should have done from the start. We treat it like a sentient being. We don't assume it's here to destroy us." Malik, however, could not hide his unease. Sentient or not, this thing is bigger than any ship, any army, any civilization. It could wipe out humanity without thinking twice. Do you even realize the risk we're taking? Elias did. And yet, the dragon's gaze did not hold malice. It studied them, ancient eyes scanning the humans as if weighing their worth, deciding whether they were a threat or something else. "You gave life," the dragon rumbled, its voice deep enough to vibrate through the ground. "Not many remember the choice." Harper's scanner went wild, detecting an energy surge spreading through the dragon's body. "Captain, its energy levels are off the charts. We're talking planetary scale output. If it wanted to destroy everything?" Malik finished grimly. Elias shook his head. "It chose not to. So far, it's choosing trust." The dragon's gaze softened as it lowered its head slightly, a gesture that seemed almost ceremonial. Its massive claw reached toward a jagged ridge near the shuttle and pressed gently against the ground. The planet trembled beneath the motion, sending dust and debris into the thin air. "Humans," the dragon said again, this time with a note of something unexpected, gratitude, perhaps, or recognition. "Fragile, yet, capable of mercy. That choice, rare, precious." Malik swallowed hard. "Did it just compliment us?" "Yes," Harper said, awestruck. "Or, acknowledge that we made the right choice." The dragon's head rose higher. Its wings unfurled fully, the membrane spanning hundreds of meters, faintly glowing as they caught the light. It flexed once, twice, and the ground beneath their feet trembled again. The pulse of its energy was like a heartbeat echoing through the planet. "Humans," the dragon said, its voice resonating in the crew's minds as well as their ears, "you freed me, not by strength, but by choice. That matters, more than you know." Elias stepped forward, unsure why he felt compelled to speak aloud to a creature so incomprehensibly ancient. "We didn't free you," he said softly. "You survived yourself. We just helped you finish the fight to survive." The dragon tilted its massive head. "You understand." And then it did something entirely unexpected. It leaned forward, closer to the humans than its immense size should allow, and offered, not a roar, not a threat, but a gesture of alliance. Its claw touched the ground lightly, then it exhaled a low, resonant breath that rippled outward. The energy that had once threatened to destroy everything now felt controlled, aware, deliberate. "Allies, if you accept." Elias's heart raced. Harper and Malik mirrored his disbelief. The dragon, this creature of legends, punished for eons, was offering them a gift. Not destruction. Not revenge. But protection. "You mean, you want to fight with us?" Harper whispered, barely daring to speak. The dragon's glowing cracks pulsed in time with its slow, deliberate breathing. "Teach, protect, remember. Do not repeat mistakes of old." Malik muttered under his breath, "I knew it. I knew we'd somehow get ourselves into a galactic-scale mess. But, an alliance? With this?" Elias ignored him. "We'll need to leave a record," he said carefully. "The galaxy will need to know. Others may come. Others may try to control or destroy you again. You're not alone anymore, if we honor this, together." The dragon's gaze swept across the horizon, past the gray wasteland, as if sensing distant forces, remnants of civilizations long gone, and perhaps threats yet to awaken. "Others, come, must be ready." Harper tightened her grip on her scanner. "Captain, Orbital Command is still going to know we disobeyed orders. They'll want to contain or terminate it. We can't hide this forever." Elias nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. "We'll explain. We'll argue. But right now, this creature deserves our trust. It chose not to destroy us when it could have. That means something." The dragon's wings flexed again. Its massive body shifted, a vibration of energy that could level mountains, yet it moved with careful precision. "Together, survive." Malik blinked. "You're telling me, this thing, which could crush our fleet like paper, wants to work with us?" Elias exhaled slowly. "Yes. Because it recognizes something in us, that it values. Mercy. Choice. Honor." Harper finally let out a quiet laugh, disbelief lacing the sound. "Of all the things I thought I'd see in my life, an alien dragon forming an alliance with humanity wasn't even on the list." The dragon's head lowered once more. "Remember, never forget." Elias stepped back, looking up at the creature towering above them. He felt a strange mixture of awe, fear, and hope. Humanity had stumbled into something unimaginably powerful. But for the first time in millennia, the ancient dragon had hope again, and with it, the possibility that the galaxy itself might shift, not by war, but by the choice of a few brave humans willing to act with mercy. The crew moved back toward the shuttle, hearts racing, knowing that their decision today would echo far beyond this lifeless planet. The dragon rose fully, wings extended, standing tall and imposing, yet calm. A force of unimaginable power, and now, a protector. "Humans," it said one last time before lifting into the thin air above, "you may yet be worthy." Elias watched it rise, awestruck, and whispered to himself, "We just made history." And in the silence that followed, the planet seemed to exhale, no longer just a tomb, but the birthplace of an alliance the galaxy would never forget. Because sometimes, even the smallest act, a single drink of water, a gesture of mercy, could awaken a legend. A protector. A friend. And maybe, just maybe, humanity's first real chance at survival among the stars.